Tell them, Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp, a man, a victim too of domestic violence, end quote. That's what you said, right?
The defamation trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard wasn't just a legal battle. It was the global event that had the entire internet on the edge of its seat.
I will say his lawyers did certainly a better job of distracting the jury from the real issues.
What started as a messy divorce escalated into a legal circus, capturing millions of eyes as fans, skeptics, and critics alike picked apart every testimony, every tear, and every eyebrow raise. Amber Heard found herself under a microscope, unlike anything we've seen in modern celebrity culture. Why did Amber go from being a respected Hollywood star to one of the most unliked celebrities of our time? We'll find out now. Pre-trial public image. Amber Heard's journey in the entertainment industry is a tale of ambition, perseverance, and eventually controversy that has left people divided. Imagine someone starting at the very bottom, hustling through music videos and small television roles, trying to carve out a name in the sprawling, competitive world of Hollywood. That's where her story begins. In her early days, she appeared in Kenny Chesney's There Goes My Life, a music video, mind you, not even a film, and bagged tiny roles in TV shows like Jack and Bobby back in 2004. It's easy to picture her excitement at those first breaks, right? Amber Heard's journey through fame and infamy is one of Hollywood's most dramatic stories. But what exactly has made her so widely hated? Is it her behavior, her relationships, or the way she's been portrayed in the media? The truth is far more complicated than you might think. Stay tuned, because the final twist will make you see this story in a whole new light. The thrill of getting closer to her dreams, even if it was just inch by inch. But as everyone knows, Hollywood is no fairy tale. And for every glimmer of success, there are layers of challenges waiting to unfold. She kept pushing forward, though, and eventually landed supporting roles in films that gave her just enough momentum to get noticed. Do you remember her in Pineapple Express or Never Back Down in 2008? These movies weren't groundbreaking masterpieces, but they were significant stepping stones. They were her ticket to breaking into the mainstream. Yet even as her name started to make rounds, Amber wasn't just sitting back and enjoying the ride. No, she had a lot to say about the industry she was working so hard to be part of. She wasn't shy about pointing out how male-dominated Hollywood was, or how it seemed almost allergic to creating complex female roles. Have you ever wondered how many actresses feel that way but are too scared to speak out? Amber didn't hold back. Just as she was starting to make a name for herself, she publicly came out as bisexual. Brave, right? But it wasn't without consequence. Hollywood executives, those gatekeepers of fame, warned her that being open about her sexuality could hurt her career. It's almost like they handed her a warning label saying, "Play it safe or pay the price." Yet she didn't retreat into the shadows. She stuck to her guns, which speaks volumes about her willingness to stand for what she believed in, even when it cost her. But let's switch gears a bit. How could we not talk about her marriage to Johnny Depp? This relationship was Hollywood drama wrapped in glitter and star power from the start. Amber met Johnny on the set of The Rum Diary in 2009. At that point, both of them were involved with other people, so their connection stayed professional, for a while anyway. Over time, that professional dynamic evolved, and by 2014, they were engaged. By 2015, they were married. Do you remember how the media ate up their love story? It was painted as the perfect Hollywood romance. They were always photographed looking smitten. And there was that talk about their chemistry on and off screen. It felt like one of those larger-than-life love stories, didn't it? But then came 2016, and everything shifted. Out of nowhere, or at least it seemed that way to the public, Amber filed for divorce and requested a temporary restraining order against Johnny. The claims she made were shocking, allegations of verbal and physical mistreatment, particularly when he was under the influence of drugs or alcohol. The tabloids exploded. Do you remember those pictures of her alleged injuries? They were everywhere, splashed across every news outlet, feeding the public frenzy. And just when you thought the drama couldn't get more intense, the couple reached a settlement in August of that year. Amber withdrew the restraining order, and they released this joint statement that almost felt rehearsed. It described their relationship as intensely passionate and periodically volatile, but always bound by love. What does that even mean, right? Passionate but volatile. Sounds like a euphemism for something far more complicated. Johnny agreed to pay Amber $7 million as part of the settlement, and she publicly pledged to donate it all to charity. the ACLU and Children's Hospital Los Angeles. It was messy, polarizing, and all too public. This was when the public started seeing her not just as a rising Hollywood star, but as a figure caught in a whirlwind of accusations, legal battles, and intense media scrutiny. The Washington Post op-ed impact. It's interesting, isn't it, how one article can impact not just two people's lives, but ripple out into entire industries, conversations, and legal worlds. Back in December 2018, Amber Heard penned an op-ed for the Washington Post, or at least her name was attached to it. It was a piece that, without ever naming Johnny Depp directly, became the foundation for a defamation lawsuit worth millions. And the fallout? Oh, it was monumental. Who could have predicted how far-reaching the consequences would be? Let's break this down, shall we? The op-ed itself wasn't just Amber sitting down at her desk, pouring her heart out. Nope. It turns out there were layers to its creation. The ACLU, yes, the American Civil Liberties Union, had a big hand in crafting the piece. Their staffers worked on the first draft, shaping it to align with their policy goals, while also collaborating closely with Amber. They weren't flying solo either. Amber's legal team jumped in to make sure everything in the article wouldn't trip over the non-disclosure agreement she'd signed as part of her divorce settlement with Depp. Honestly, can you imagine that process? Drafts flying back and forth, every word scrutinized by legal teams. It's almost like the op-ed was a chess move in a larger game, rather than a straightforward personal essay. Now, about those three statements in the op-ed that became the center of attention. They read like they were pulled straight from a rallying cry for survivors. I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. The second statement, 2 years ago I became a public figure representing domestic mistreatment. The third statement, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of misconduct. They might sound powerful, right? But to a Virginia jury, these words carried weight that crossed the line into defamation. And let's be honest, how many of us, at the time, really thought about the legal implications of such statements? Most people were probably focused on the broader message or the drama of it all, not the precise legal nuances that would later dominate headlines. But the public reaction, wow, that was something else. Social media, as always, became the battleground. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. It seemed like everyone had an opinion. The memes, the debates, the sheer volume of it all. It's a level of scrutiny most people can't even begin to fathom. And the careers? Oh, both Amber and Johnny took hits, no question about it. Johnny's agent, Jack Wiggum, even testified about how the op-ed made it impossible to land major studio deals for him. At one point, Depp had been in talks for a $22.5 million payday to return as Jack Sparrow in a sixth Pirates of the Caribbean movie. But after the op-ed, that deal was dead in the water. And Amber didn't walk away unscathed either. She shared how she was recast in a project and lost a lucrative global campaign with a fashion brand. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? The piece was supposed to highlight systemic issues, yet both parties ended up facing professional fallout that was, frankly, brutal. Even the Washington Post couldn't just sit back and watch this play out. They eventually added an editor's note to the digital version of the op-ed, explicitly pointing out the statements that the jury found defamatory. That's not something you see every day, is it? It's like the article itself became a living document, evolving with the legal battles and the cultural discourse surrounding it. So, was it worth it? That's a question only those involved can answer. But for the rest of us, it's a case study in how one moment in time can ripple out and leave a mark on everything it touches. Why does Amber Heard seem to be at the center of so much hate? Is it her actions, her words, or the stories others have told about her? As we delve into her most controversial moments, the reasons behind the backlash become clearer, and the final detail we uncover might just change your perspective. Don't miss this eye-opening breakdown of one of Hollywood's most talked-about stars. UK trial turning point. The 2020 UK libel trial in the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard saga was a massive turning point that ended in a very different outcome compared to the US trial. It's one of those cases that makes you think, how could the same story play out so differently depending on where it's told? In the UK, Depp went after the Sun newspaper, suing them in London's High Court for calling him a wife beater. But instead of the vindication he sought, he lost. Wild, right? What made the UK trial stand out, though, was the sheer amount of evidence presented and the way it shaped the judge's ruling. Let's talk about the evidence for a second because, wow, there was a lot. Heard's legal team didn't hold back. They came in with medical records stretching as far back as 2012, detailing reports of misconduct. Can you imagine the weight of that? There were also audio recordings of their conversations that felt like they came straight out of a psychological thriller, and photos of alleged injuries. The UK judge ultimately decided that 12 out of 14 alleged incidents of domestic mistreatment actually happened. That's why the Sun's description of Depp was ruled substantially true. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? The UK courts are generally known to favor plaintiffs in libel cases, and yet here, Depp couldn't sway the judge. Now, the way the media covered this whole circus was another layer of intrigue. While the UK trial got a fair amount of attention, the US proceedings in 2022, those became a global obsession. You had live streaming, viral hashtags like #JusticeForJohnnyDepp hitting 19 billion views on TikTok. Can you even wrap your head around that number? The US trial felt like a reality show meets a gladiator match, with fans picking sides as if it were a sports game. But the UK trial had a single judge calling the shots, while the US trial handed the reins to a jury, 7 non-sequestered jurors to be exact. Doesn't that seem like a recipe for drama? Legal experts pointed out that juries are often more swayed by emotional appeals and character portrayals, which made a huge difference in the US outcome. And let's not forget how public opinion started swinging wildly depending on where you were watching from. In the US trial, Heard's lawyer, Elaine Bredehoft, made it clear that crucial evidence didn't make it into the courtroom, evidence that had been allowed in the UK. She mentioned very significant medical records where Heard consistently told therapists about the mistreatment she said she endured. It's almost maddening to think about how different the playing field was in each trial. What's even more interesting, though infuriating depending on your perspective, is how social media shaped the narrative. And honestly, it's hard to argue with that when you see how public sentiment played out online. The UK judge wrote a detailed 67,000-word ruling, meticulously documenting instances of mistreatment. Compare that to the US jury's decision, which many felt was more swayed by emotion than evidence. It's night and day, isn't it? Evidence interpretation battles. The fallout from the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial was like a whirlwind that left everyone talking, and not in a good way. Public opinion didn't just shift, it flipped on its head. People were divided, almost like it was some big reality TV show trying to figure out what to make of all the evidence thrown around in court. And let's be real, the evidence? Oh, it was messy. The way people saw it basically shaped how the jury voted and how the internet reacted, turning every little detail into memes, debates, and endless hashtags. Crazy, right? Take those audio recordings, for instance. They were like the trial's greatest hits, if you could even call it that. One particular clip pretty much became Amber's downfall. She was heard saying, "Tell the world, Johnny, tell them I, Johnny Depp, am a victim of domestic violence. And see how many people believe or side with you." Ouch. That one line? It hit harder than anyone expected. How could it not? It painted a picture, whether it was accurate or not, of someone daring another person to tell the world their truth, knowing they wouldn't be believed. And then there was Johnny's side of the recordings. He sounded so worn down, so tired. You almost felt the exhaustion through the audio. At one point, he warned about things escalating, saying, "The next move, if I don't walk away, it's going to be a bloodbath." And then you hear Amber admitting to hitting him, not punching him, as if that made it better. "I'm sorry I hit you like this, but I did not punch you." Seriously, who even argues about the technicalities of hitting someone? It was such a surreal moment that left everyone shaking their heads. They went back and forth about how to settle disputes, like taking timeouts or finding ways to calm down. And then there were the photo. Those pictures were supposed to be Amber's smoking gun, proof of mistreatment. But guess what? They weren't as rock solid as she probably hoped. A digital forensics expert, Brian Neumeister, went all Sherlock Holmes on them and found some really sketchy stuff. Turns out the photos had been edited with some software instead of being directly uploaded from her phone. And if all of that wasn't enough, Amber's behavior in court really didn't help her case. One juror came forward later and explained how her demeanor affected them. They noticed how she'd cry one second and then switch to being totally cold the next. One juror even called it crocodile tears. When you add all this up, the shaky evidence, the audio tapes, the questionable expert testimonies, and Amber's own courtroom behavior, it's no wonder public opinion turned against her. Amber Heard's name seems to provoke strong emotions everywhere. But why does the public view her so negatively? From court battles to viral moments, her story is filled with drama and unexpected turns. What we uncover will shock you, especially the last reason, which you'll need to see to believe. Watch closely because this is one story you won't want to miss. Long-term reputation impact. The Depp and Heard trial completely changed how celebrities manage their reputations, didn't it? It wasn't just a typical Hollywood scandal, it became a full-blown cultural phenomenon. Take Amber Heard's career, for instance. The fallout for her has been nothing short of brutal. Hollywood turned its back on her almost overnight. Warner Brothers drastically cut her role in Aquaman 2, reducing it to what's been called a glorified cameo. And remember all those whispers about her joining the Batman Part 2? Those conversations just stopped, like someone slammed the brakes hard. Big studios like Paramount, Universal, and Skydance all distanced themselves, sending a very clear message. She was no longer welcome in their big-budget playgrounds. Can you imagine how isolating that must feel? And it wasn't just the big movie roles that dried up. Even smaller opportunities, like voiceover work for DreamWorks Animation, were taken off the table. Universal Studios? They decided not to include her in any Fast and Furious franchise talks. Blumhouse Productions, known for its edgy horror films, also backed out of a planned project with her. It's like every door in Hollywood slammed shut at the same time. But let's not forget the elephant in the room: social media. Oh, the digital footprint of that trial is massive. People made memes mocking her testimony, some even threatening her child. How does someone even begin to move forward with that kind of hate swirling around? Now, when it comes to her future, opinions are all over the place. Some Hollywood insiders are convinced her career as a big studio actress is over. One top publicist even said outright, she's done. But then there's the other side, people who believe she might find support from female producers who see her situation and want to help. You know, the ones who believe in sending the elevator back down. But let's be honest, how many of those opportunities will she really find? It's a tough road, no matter how you slice it. A major studio executive had an interesting take, though. They pointed out that both Heard and Depp have aired so much dirty laundry that it'll be hard for either of them to appeal to a wide audience for a while. Isn't that kind of true? The court of public opinion doesn't have a short memory, especially when it comes to something as messy as this. What's fascinating, though, is that public opinion might be shifting ever so slightly. Pro-Heard content is slowly gaining traction on TikTok, and supportive subreddits are growing. But will it be enough to change the narrative completely? Probably not anytime soon. People don't easily admit they might have been wrong, especially when it comes to backing someone accused of mistreatment. The effects of this trial go far beyond just Heard and Depp. Did you know that a psychologist reported hundreds of survivors withdrawing court cases or taking back public statements after this? That's heartbreaking. It shows how the trial reshaped discussions about domestic violence and accountability in ways we're still trying to understand. Despite everything, Heard hasn't disappeared completely. She's mentioned having a few projects lined up, which suggests she's trying to make a comeback, even if it's a slow one. And then there's her move to Spain. Some say it's her way of balancing personal life with work, far from the glare of Hollywood. Maybe she's trying to rebuild her life on her own terms. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.